Hi, okay, today we are making funky little pixie boot shoes slash slippers. Yeah, so it's an interesting project. It's a really good fun one. It's a great one for Christmas gifts. Hate to use that phrase this early in the year, but it is creeping up and most crafters have been going for a few months now anyway. Little thing for this video, this is the first pattern where I am going to publish it in written format via Amazon on a Kindle format. So if you do want to download it to have it written down, if you know you're somewhere you can't watch videos and you want to follow it along, then I would recommend you do watch the video first, but you will be able to get the pattern via Amazon. If you're watching this just after it uploads, it's possibly not available yet, but when it is available, I'll put a little link up here and at the end of the video. Okay, so what do we need for this craft? Okay, you need your standard stuff that we normally use in every video. So for this one, we're using a small 24 peg round knitting loom. We have our knitting hook. We have a pair of scissors, and we have a piece of scrap paper and a pen to keep track of rows and stitches. Or you can use a stitch counter if you use stitch counters. For this project, we will be using 2 balls of chunky, so thick, chunky yarn. You can just use a single one of extra chunky, but I quite like using 2 colours of chunky. Now, extra things we'll need for this project, which we don't often use in others, is some dressmakers pins. You only need about half a dozen, but they are helpful, trust me. If you haven't got them, you can use safety pins, but I would recommend something. Thread, needle and thread in a colour that kind of complements or generally goes with the yarns you're using, and cheap pound shop or dollar store flip-flops. Doesn't matter what they look like. However, these ones I wasn't too keen on because they've got the pattern on the side, but because the colours match my yarns, it's not too bad. If you can get just the plain foam ones in either white or black, depending on the colour you're working in, that probably goes better. But whatever you can get hold of, whatever you can use. And like I say, they can just be really cheap ones. Or if you're staying in a hotel and they give them away for free, maybe swipe a few pairs for crafting later. Okay guys, to start this off, same as usual, we're going to take, you don't need a huge long length on this, but a little bit helps. Take both of our yarns and do a slip knot to get our little loop. I'm going to secure this on here. There we go. Okay, now, what we do from this point is we need to cast on 10 stitches at the furthest point from our start point. So I always have this as the last working stitch and this is the first one, but I want the 10 furthest away. So what I'm going to do is, because I know this is 24 peg loom, we're using 10, that's 14 empty, divide it into 7. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 empty, and then we're going to start wrapping that one, yeah. So I'm going to wrap 10, 1, 2, helps if I get them both. Let's try this again the other way around. Find an easy way to work around the camera. Okay, so trying it again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 empty, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, more yarn, 9, 10, and then we should have 7 empty. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, there we go. So those are our 10 furthest away from start point. Now, at this point, just push these down. What we're going to do is we're going to work in the flat, but we want to be increasing this section every time we do a row. So we're going to use the last one as a turning peg, so that stays there. and then we're going to wrap 9 back. Put my tangled on. So we've had one as a turning peg, wrapped 9 back, and then we're gonna, so there we go, 1 turning peg, 9 wrapped, and then we're gonna cast one on and just hold that there. Doesn't do anything because we've just cast it on, there's nothing to knit over it, but it sits there and we've cast it on. And then we knit these 9. Pop them down, and we use the one we've just cast on as the turning peg, and we wrap 10 back. And again, what we do is when we get to the end of the ones we've already got, we cast one on, and then we knit these back. And then again, what we do at this point, the other thing you can do at this point if you want is just take this off of there because it'll hold itself now. Is again we wrap back. This time we should have 11 on here. Just get some more yarn. And again, when we get to the end of the ones we've got cast on already, we cast on another. And it stays out the way for this one, but it will be our turning peg on the next one. So you can see how this is increasing slowly, stitch by stitch, each row we do. Now, all you have to do is keep going back and forward like this, casting on 1 stitch each row until you get to the point where there is a stitch on every single peg. Still working in the flat, but as soon as you reach the point where you have a stitch on every single peg, knit out that row and then come back to me and we'll be ready to move on to the next part. Hey, okay, so I've got to the point where I've got all of them wrapped. This one is wrapped as sort of the turning peg. So for one more row on this one, because I'm still using that as a turning peg, so I come all the way around. Sometimes you have to untwist you can leave it twisted, but I think it's easier to work with if it's not too twisty, but it always happens when you're working with 2 yarns. So now, once I get this wrapped, this will be the last row I do working in the flat for now, because all of them will have sort of full stitches on. So what we're going to do is, once I get this row knitted, I'm going to jump. See, that was a turning peg, so this is the last row round. Once I get this row done, I'm going to start knitting in the round. So if we flick this one off, there we go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to knitting in the round. So I come, push these down. I come straight from the end of that row to the first one. So from now on, I'm just going round and round and knitting like that without any of the backwards and forwards. Don't need to worry about turning pegs. And I am going to do 15 rows of this. So I'm going to let you guys go in just 15 rows straight round, straight A-wrap. And once you've done that, I will meet you back here. Okay guys, we've now done those 15 rows. Now, this is a part I am going to do as a knit along. So I'm going to do it step by step. If any of you guys have done the socks with me, you will know this. However, we're gonna do this bit by bit, yeah? So, the first thing that I want you to do is going in normal direction, is I want you to A-wrap 18 pegs, yeah? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 11, wasn't it? 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and just double check. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Great. Okay, so then what we're going to do at this point is we're going to leave the end one on as a turning peg, so that just sits there merrily doing its thing, and all of the rest of them we knit off. So 17 of them get knitted. And that is 17 of them knitted. Now what I want you to do is wrap, sorry, look at the camera, wrap another 11 back over, okay? So you got that one there, and then you're going to wrap another 11, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So if you count them, you should have a total of 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. If you want to count the sides, you should have 6 empty ones on each edge as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, not empty, but you know what I mean. Not double wrapped at this point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yay! So that all works out. So then what I want you to do is the last one you wrapped, again, it just stays on there. So you leave the 2 on there. And then all the other ones, bar the one at the other end, get knitted off. So you knit off 10. So you've wrapped 11, you're knitting on off 10. So at this point you should have a double wrapped one at each end of this little section in the middle here, which is going to be your heel section. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to wrap back until we get to the double wrapped one that we have on here. Have I gone past it? Looks like I've gone past it. Yes, I have. So you have to pay attention to what you're doing. There it is. There's the double wrapped one. You can see that one's got 2 switches on. They just got smushed together. Okay, so I wrap back till only until I get to that one. Yes, you can see there's 2 stitches on that one. So I wrap to this one. And then, once again, I'm going to ignore the last one I wrapped. So you end up with 2 with double stitches on there. And knit back. So I should have, by the end of this bit, I should have two double wrapped pegs at this end and 1 double wrapped peg at this end. Okay. There we go. So that's me 1 double wrapped peg at this end, and I've got 2 at the other end. Now I'm going to wrap back until I hit the double wrapped one at the other end. And where is it? It's there. Oh, she lost my yarn off the side of the sofa. Means it's going to get kittens in a minute. Right, okay, so there's my double wrapped one. This is the last one I'm wrapping. So I'm going to leave that there. Again, I'm going to ignore this one and go on to this one. So I now have a double wrapped peg, 2 double wrapped pegs at either end, yeah? Now you should start to be seeing a pattern develop here, because what we're going to do now is, once again, just E-wrap down until we hit those double wrapped pegs. There we go. And then, once again, ignore this one. Ignore the last one we wrapped. And start knitting back. So you should have 3 double wrapped pegs at this end. 2 double wrapped pegs at this end by the time we finish this row. Yeah. One, 2. Yep, cool. And again, we're going to just wrap back until we get to the double wrapped pegs. My yarn's going everywhere. There's going to be some very excited kittens pouncing everywhere in a minute. Okay, so by the time I get finished with this one, I should have 3 double wrapped pegs at each end. So you can see we've got 1, 2. We're going to ignore the last one we did, which makes 3. And knit the rest of them. One, two, three. And once again, just wrap, ping back over until we get to those double wrapped ones. Ignoring the last one we did to give us a total of 4 double wrap pegs at this end, and knitting back. Until we have 1, 2, 3 on this end. And then we're going to wrap till we get to the double wrapped pegs. There we go. And we're going to need to put 4 on this end. So 1, 2, 3, 4. If we ignore the last one we wrapped, which we're gonna. And then knit off the rest of them. So at this point I've got 4 double wrapped pegs on each end. Now, this is where we kind of start to reverse things. So what we're going to do at this point is we're going to wrap all of the ones that only have 1 peg on, and the first one we come to with 2 stitches on. So this one currently has 3 stitches on. So what we do is we take the bottom 2, treat them as 1 stitch, so you get both of those stitches together. There's 2 on there, so you get all of that together, and flick that up and over that one new one you put on, and then just knit back until 1, 2, 3, 4 we get to there. Okay, so you should still have 4 double wrapped stitches on this end. Yeah, so you've still got 1, 2, 3, 4 on there. Yeah, and then as we come back, we treat the last peg that we knitted as a turning peg, so that the one where we scoop the 2 off the bottom. So we leave that one alone, and we come back and we come back, and again we cut the first one we come to with 2 pegs on it, of 2 stitches on it. We're going to wrap that one as well. So yeah, looks like it has 3 on there. We take those bottom 2 together as 1 up and over, and then we knit back. And it's easy when you're knitting back this time because the turning peg just has 1 stitch on, so you knit back until you get to that peg with only 1 stitch. Okay, and again I'm going to leave the last one, the one with only 1 stitch on, last one we did alone, and then we're going to come this way. And again, first peg we come to with 2 stitches on, we're going to wrap, treat those 2 stitches as 1, and then just continue with the rest of the row back over. Until we get to that peg with just 1 on again. That was our starting point for that row, so nice and easy. Again, last one we knitted gets used as turning peg. We wrap until we come to the first peg. That, just going to move that out of the way. First peg that still has 2 stitches on it. And again, treat those 2 stitches as one, up and over, and then just knit the rest of the row until we get to the peg we just went on where we started. And you can see the pattern that's happening here, but I'm just going to leave the camera on while we finish this heel section because it's easier to do this as I knit along. You can see exactly how the section comes together. So again, just wrapping back, get back to the one that has, the first one that has 2 stitches on. Again, wrap a 3rd stitch and then treat the bottom 2 as 1 stitch. And now, reach our last peg with 2 on this side anyway. It's getting dark. We may have to bring in some lighting for the end of this video. It's starting to get a little dark now. Okay. And then once again, treat the last one we did as turning peg back and catch the last one with 2 stitches on this side. There we go. Now, what we do is, again, we use that last one as our turning peg. But this time what we do is we A-wrap all the way to the very end of this row. So not just the section we've been working, but right the way to the end of the entire row. There we go, that's the last peg of the row, so I've wrapped all the way around, and then we're just going to knit all of those off. And there we go. Now what you do with all of that done is we're back at the beginning. Now at this point we go back, you can see the heel in there, don't worry, it will work its way out. What we do at this point is we go back to knitting in the round. So you literally carry on now and just keep knitting in the round. Do another 5 rows of just plain round and round knitting via a wrap. So in 5 rows time of round, 5 rows, round the loom, working in the round, and I will come back to you at that point. Okay, so we've now done our 5 rows in the round, and this is the stage we're at here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to jump back to knitting in the flap, but we're going to use all the pegs. So we're going to use the last one as the turning and start wrapping back, and literally we're just going to wrap all the way around and knit back and forwards like this for another 8 rows. So switch to knitting in the flat, do another 8 rows, and then it'll be time to cast off. But if you come back after you've done those 8 rows, we'll go through the cast off process. Okay? Okay, so I have now done my 8 rows of just flat back and forward, and as you can see we've now got sort of a little split in there. Yeah. Okay, now what we need to do is get this off the loom. Now the way we're going to do that, there's a few cast off methods, and to be honest, if you've got one you prefer, use that one, but use one that has a little bit of elastic and stretch in it, because we don't want the top to shrink up. We want it to sort of maintain its width quite well. Now the one that I do here is I simply take stitch off, and then I wrap the wool round to make a second little loop, and then I pull this up and over and hook that through, and then I take the next loop off, pull this one up and over, and then again make a little loop and use that to create sort of a new stitch. There we go. And I just continue that pattern all the way around, hook one off, up and over, create a stitch. Oh, sometimes you have to be a bit careful holding it on, but yeah, create a stitch. Ooh. Of course, I know I say this on every video, but it doesn't help working around the camera. Pull that through, go. Up and over, and then hook another. And you can see basically you're hooking one off a peg, pulling that up and over, creating a loop, pulling that up and over, take one off the peg, pull that up and over, create a loop, and it just kind of goes round in a circle like that until you have all of them off the loom. So we'll let you go and do that, and then when we've got all of the stitches off the loom, we'll come back. Okay, so I've got the last loop on here. At this point, all I'm going to do is do one more pull through. Leave a bit of working length on here, and then literally just tie a knot in there like that. You don't need a huge amount of working length on here, but normally at this phase what I do is I flip the whole thing inside out. It's quite a rigid structure, is that the right word? But yeah, it's quite a thick piece of knitting, so it does tend to hold its shape pretty well. Okay, there we go. Now we're inside out. Now all I'm going to do with these is run them one at a time, kind of through some of the knitting to keep it nice and tidy and out the way. So I'm just going to flick this kind of back over, just run it through a few stitches and loops here. There we go. Pull it nice and flat and then just snip it off near the end. And it just keeps sort of straggly ends away from the edges of your knitting. Do the other one. You can run these down as well if you want. It's just a way to get them sort of away from the very edge and go diagonally. It really... There's probably some very experienced knitters out there who are thinking, what on earth is she doing? Why is she doing it like that? But honestly, as long as it keeps it away from the edges and it looks neat, that's pretty much all we're really aiming for here. Okay, so that's that bit done. That's this sorted. Don't need to worry about that now. Now, toe end. Now, we're actually going to use these. I'm just going to take... I've still got my little slip knot in there. That can come out. Okay, we're going to divide these and use them for slightly separate things. We're going to take the first one. It doesn't matter which one you use. I'm going to use the pink one, but it really, as I say, makes no difference. And what I'm going to do is I'm looking for the edge row, like the edge, the very last row. And then I'm going to go to the last one on the first of those ones. And what I want to do is just pop a stitch through. Sorry, try and keep it in frame. It's just pop a stitch through all of these ones just sat on the edge. Yeah. Until we get back to the start, and then we're just gonna pull like we do if you made the socks with me. It's very similar. You just pull until you get that part closed up there, and then tie a knot. Now, I don't usually worry about working in the ends of this bit because it is at the very end of a little boot, so no one's really going to look at the toe section too closely. So, see how we've closed that up? Yeah. So, we'll just pop a little knot in here. There we go. And then you can just trim this one off. It's inside the toe, so no one's going to see it. Right, now this bit, this is where it gets fun because we need to make the pixie boot shape. So we're going to take the other bit of thread and you're going to close up this section here, yeah? And you're going to just, very similar to the top, you just want to catch the edge loops in and just go through them like this. There's nothing particularly complicated about it. Just run through from one loop to the next, yeah. Now, this next bit, I quite like doing the next bit, it's quite good fun. What you need to do is you need to use your foot at this stage, okay? There is a chance I'm going to have to move this camera in the middle of a shot. So put on your pixie boot inside out, yeah? Just pop it on, get it all nice and comfy on your foot. And then you're going to take the end, yeah? Because this will feel really long, because my toes only come to there. And you pull, just pull. You might have to do a little bit of squishing to get it to form exactly right, but that's pretty much it. You pull until you get your little pointed curly toe. Yeah, I like mine to come quite far back, but you can go for what you want, you know, it's up to you. But yeah, I like mine to come quite far back, so there. And that is my pixie foot. And now you need to pop your yarn back on the thread. Sorry, I'm not doing this right. This is a really awkward angle, guys, I'm not gonna lie. So, right, once you've got this pulled and you've got your little pixie toe formed, you literally just pop a knot in at the base of that section, okay? There we go. Knot in, cut off. And now this is inside out. We need to flip it round the correct way. Give me a second. You really need to push the little toes down. So that needs to go right in. And there we have. This is a pixie boot. Now, you don't have to actually add the sole on if you don't want to. You could just use these as slippers. I'll put it on. See? And you just have a little pixie boot slipper. But, if you give me a second, I will show you how to attach the soles. Okay, first thing you're going to want to do is get hold of your flip-flop for that particular foot. And literally just take these straps off. We don't need these. Cut them as close as you can. There we go. Take any bits of stickers and things off that are not needed. And what we now need to do is attach this to the bottom of our pixie boot. Okay, I might be able to horribly knock over camera here, so bear with me. This is really tricky. easiest thing to do, get your flip-flopper base and your foot, which is nice and comfortably in your Pixie boot. Da, da, da. And literally stand on it. This is where I knock the camera flying. Now, lean up, try and line up the heel first, and then you've got your toes and everything. Now at this point what I do is go around with some dressmaker's pins and just roughly mark where each bit needs to be, basically. You don't need to use loads, but I tend to find a couple on the heel at the back, and a couple around the front work best, especially on this little front bit, so I can see how far forward the toe needs to be pulled. Okay, I have now roughly extracted my foot from the pinned on base, and I'm gonna, you can start wherever you want stitching these on. I'm gonna start around here, and literally all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna catch a stitch and I'm going to go diagonally down and through, sort of through the corner. With this, I've got a second layer on. I've got like this little sort of patterned ridge here that runs along the edge. If you don't have this, just literally use the corner of the foam bit, but try to go through a similar depth every time you do it. There are actually lots of ways of sewing soles on, and I've seen some really quite sort of pretty ones using chain stitch methods and things like that, but this does just seem to be the simplest and easiest way to do it, to be honest. You can go around a couple of times to strengthen it. I'm using sort of double thickness thread, but in all honesty, unless you're using these to walk over like some sort of particularly rugged terrain, which I don't see anyone would. I mean, you could go outdoors in them. You could put waterproof spray on them, I suppose. But, you know, you're not going to be doing a marathon in them. So they're fairly sturdy with just a go around like this. Yeah, and basically you just keep going around and around like this. You will have to, you see, it's really tempting to follow the stitch line, but at a certain point you do have to kind of change them slightly because of the shape of the boot. So don't worry if you find yourself doing that. But so yeah, just keep going round and round like this until you have your sole attached. And I will see you back here when we're at that stage. And there you have it finished and stitched on. And then all you need to do is make another one, and you have pair of boots. Yay! These are a really fun little project. They're very warm. They're practical. Have fun.